Hello and welcome back to Choir with Knut. Lately, I've been streaming a lot of my arranging sessions, and I've had some people ask me if I can make some shortened versions of these streams because they often turn out to be, 3, 4, sometimes even more than 4 hours long. And of course, I understand that that's quite a lot to be watching if you're just interested in learning arranging. So I'm going to see if I can do some shortened versions of my previous streams. And I'm just going to start with the first one and see how that goes, and then just do them one by one. Since I've also recorded some of these arrangements since I did the streams, I'm also now able to provide some examples of what the arranged sections end up sounding like. So let's get started with the first ever stream I did, which was Mercy by Duffy. The first thing you want to do, so let's just assume I've now been asked, Knut, I need this arrangement by, Mercy by Duffy, and it's really important that I have it tomorrow, so that's why I'm going to be doing all of it today. The first thing you want to do with any song is to research. So my first port of call always when doing research, whatever it is, if it's, if it's music, if it's science, if it's anything, have a look at Wikipedia. Usually you'll find lots of interesting information on Wikipedia. So just have a look there and, you will find some stuff. What I usually do, because I'm always trying to save time, when I started out, I used to write out stuff on manuscript paper. I've stopped doing that a long time ago. It's just, it takes too long. And you get really good at writing stuff directly into software the more you use it. So these days I will write stuff directly into software. So that's what I'm going to do here. Now, assuming that it's a song I'm not familiar with, which is often the case. For instance, if London Contemporary Voices are asking me to do songs for them, I have to learn the song. You can't be arranging music you don't know. Arranging is essentially dressing up the song in the best possible way for the clothes that you have available. In this case, the clothes are going to be the instruments you have available. Often, if it's a good Wikipedia article, it'll say stuff like what key it's in, what tempo it has. And that just takes care of that. And here it goes. It says, Mercy is set in common time. Common time is 4/4. Let me go into so I've got my Sibelius startup screen here. I'm not even going to put any instruments. I'm just going to go treble stuff. Boom. And okay, common time, 4/4 or C, doesn't matter. And then it says, in common time with a tempo of 130 beats per minute. Okay, write that in, 130 beats per minute. And it's a soul song, okay. Soul, boom. And does it say what key it's in? It's in the key of G major. Well, you see, Wikipedia is just saving me time already. I don't even have to find the key. Of course, finding the key of the song is perhaps not the most tricky thing, but it gets me everything. All I have right now is the treble stuff. So right now, I'm just going to be listening to the song over and over, writing out the melody. With a lot of pop music, the timing is very syncopated, so you'll have a lot of stuff happening on the offbeats. That can sometimes be tricky to write out in notation. The way I then find the beats is I will do stuff and I'll count, maybe bop my head, and I'll do stuff like that because it helps me put everything in the correct spot. I will be doing this in panorama mode. I always encourage people to work in panorama mode because you get a linear representation of the music. This is all ear training. It's just, I've done this for years and years. We studied it in university. How do you hear what the harmony is? How do you hear what the notes are? Okay, so this is kind of a Mixolydian kind of bass line. Okay, I need, because there's already, and I kind of knew this would happen, but yeah, there's a distinctive bass line. So what you do, you add in a bass clef to write that line on. This is important. The bass and the melody are by far the most important parts of the song, of most songs, that is. So you've got to make sure that you get them written out. This is just transcription. This is not me inventing anything. This is not me composing. I'm just writing out the basic structure of the stuff that's in there already. I might be simplifying, which is often the case when it comes to pop music, because, pop music has tricky timing, and sometimes you got to make things easy for yourself. Sometimes I'll work directly, if I already know you know, what instruments I'm writing for, then I'll have already put in, you know, soprano, alto, tenor, bass, and I'll just stick them on those staves. Right now, you know, I'm just sticking it on whatever staves I choose. So it doesn't really matter. I'm going to be deciding how to allocate this onto, and also if I'm going to be allocating this onto choral parts later. But writing this out helps me to learn the song, get to grips with the style, and just, you know, and figure out what I'm going to do. I might get some inspiration while I'm working. That's the best situation. And I just don't have to worry about it because I have ideas while I'm working. So towards the end of the chorus, Duffy does a huge run. Now, I could transcribe this. I'm probably going to simplify it because with ensemble singing, runs will usually lead to problems. Because not everyone's able to do runs. Duffy can do runs, so she does runs. Not everyone can do runs. And if you're talking about writing for an ensemble of singers, unless you know for certain that all the singers are going to be able to do a difficult run, then I would probably err on the side of caution and just simplify the release me. That'll achieve the same thing. Now there's a section where she's using the same lyrics as before. The melody is slightly different, but it's kind of basically the same melody. That's what I'm tempted to just repeat, because similar but slightly different will just be confusing. It'll mean like half your singers will sing the correct thing and half your singers will sing what they sang before. So I'm just going to immediately just say right here, I'm just going to go with this phrase from before. That will make things so much easier for the singers. And I'm all about making it easy for the singers. You know, happy singers perform well. And look, already here, I've got 3 parts. I mean, I've got the melody, I've got the yeah, yeah, yes. Yeah, yeah, yes can easily be harmonized. So, you know, I already have a lot of stuff that I can use here. And this is all stuff that's from the track, which means if I put this in my arrangement, it's going to sound like the track. The only concern I have is here, for instance, it's all basically on a G. And of course, if you have everyone singing in unison, that might not be the most interesting to listen to. But I could use the rhythms, so I could reharmonize this so it's on a third instead, so it's on a B instead, or a D, or both, and that's gonna fill out the harmony, and you get the same effect, if you will. Were yeah, yeah, yes a thing before the Beatles did their yeah, yeah, yes? It's just this completely understood deal of music that you got to have your yeah, yeah, yes. Wasn't it really the Beatles that made that famous? I realized that the Beatles nicked a lot from, you know, the Motown bands. You know, they used to play basically just what would have been classified as the African American music back then, which is what we just refer to as R&B pop music now. And the Beatles took a lot from there, and they might have taken the AES from there. I mean, she's singing it with the same, you know, she loves you, yeah, yeah, yeah. She loves you, yeah, yeah, yeah. It's the same rhythm as well. It's just this really understood bit of music that, you know, that of course you have your yeah, yes. Anyway, I don't know. Oh, wow. Oh, she's rapping. Guys, she's rapping. I don't know if I ever realized, but Duffy actually raps in the song. Okay, so we gotta have the rap. Of course, we need to have the rap. Absolutely. I hope the lyric site has the rap. Now so spoken word hip hop, that goes on cross sticks always. I'm gonna stick it on a G, just because why not? One, you look at me and think we're the same kind. Do 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 do. Cross sticks. Do 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 do. You look at me and think we're the same kind. Like this, transcribing hip hop is so good for your sense of rhythm, because I mean hip hop is all about rhythm, and you know, if you get used to putting, you know, isolating and putting in the correct place all the rhythms, it's going to help you so much when it comes to transcribing difficult or should I say rhythmically complex melodies. This isn't the worst, but it's definitely going to have to make you think a lot about the timing. Okay, so I have a transcription pretty much ready. Now, what are we going to do with this? Now, I've now learned to this song, so the next thing I'll be considering then is, right, what am I arranging it for? If I were commissioned, then I would already know this. I'm going to assume it's for SAB choir with piano. That's a really nice setup for most community choirs, because a lot of community choirs struggle with enough men. It's just, for some reason, men just aren't as keen on the choral music these days. So I'm going to assume that my community choir has the setup S, A, B. So that's soprano, alto, and baritone. And I use a piano accompanist. So there will be piano. Now that takes away some of the challenge of how do I fill out the harmony, because the piano can very easily do that. And in fact, the piano should do that. The singer should be singing melodies and counter melodies. The piano should be taking care of the rhythmic stuff. That's the piano's job. What I now need to consider is this is a song that's written in an alto key, generally. So if you look at the general range, stays around G. It actually doesn't really go that low. You could consider it to be okay as a soprano key. It doesn't go below the staff. And that's typically what you'd want to watch out for, is once you start going under the staff, the treble staff, that is definitely going to be too low for most sopranos. That's not their comfort zone. They might be able to get a sound there, but it might be weak. Female alto singers specialize in singing low. So in this case, the general range is between D just above middle C, and to this D here, the D an octave below, an octave above middle C. That's a range that is stretching the alto range a bit, but it is getting into belting range. And for a song like this, you do want that belting sound. You might not have singers that can do that belting sound, in which case, of course, you shouldn't be asking them to. But if you do, then use it. D is a belt note for low singers, and it's going to sound, really good if they can do it. Now I got to consider, right, so how does that match up with the bass? Now the bass, so if I were writing for a choir with basses, then I would consider that to be a bit low. Once you get down below the G, the G at the bottom of the bass staff, that kind of gets into the extreme bass range, and you don't want them to be dipping down there a lot. But I'm not writing with basses in mind, I'm writing with baritones in mind. Can I move this to the male voices and it's still going to be comfortable? And the answer is yes. Because it goes up to B flat, that's very achievable even for lower male singers. I mean, it's going to be down an octave, obviously. Choruses are most likely going to be in block harmonies. Block harmonies, you get everyone singing the same lyrics to the same rhythm. It's going to be loud, it's going to be strong. To me, it looks like this could work well in the key it is. But of course, I don't have to be reinventing the wheel. What I'm going to do before I start developing my version is I'm going to be looking at cover versions. And looking at cover versions is really easy. You go to YouTube, you write in Mercy, Duffy, Acapella, or choir or something, and you will get something. And this song was so popular. It's a very obvious song to do with a choir. Yeah, this version's good. So I'll post this for you to have a look at. I'm very much a fan of looking at other versions and seeing if there's stuff. Now, these guys, this is, it's got some interesting stuff happening in the background, but mostly it comes down to a lot of call and response. And call and response is, a staple of this type of music. You have the singer saying something, and then the backing parts are kind of either echoing or commenting on, or, something to that effect. That's probably going to be what I'll do. I find that helps make any performance interesting if you have a bit of call and response. Yeah, absolutely check out this cover, because it's the sort of thing that you can get a lot of good ideas from. So a fusion a cappella, good cover. Okay, so this, I kind of, the sound picture quality wasn't the best. I kind of was a bit worried, but actually this one is probably closer to the sort of thing you'd want to do with a community choir, because it's very simply done, where you have a soloist, and then you have the choir doing interjections, which is great. I mean, it's so easy. And they have an organist who does the work with the rhythms, and they've got a bass player. I'm looking to do less of a soloist versus choir kind of thing. I'd rather have section versus section, if you will. I want to make sure that it's not just like all the same parts put in a choir. I want to make sure that it's like been tailored a bit so that it suits a choir to perform. Yeah, this choir is quite fun, and they do exactly what I think a community choir should do. They have bits of block harmony, then they have a bit of call and response, they have some like simple parts, and then the band takes care of like the hard work. Okay, so this, what I found next, Norwegian choir, is an a cappella all-female version. What's interesting when people do completely a cappella versions without beatboxing or anything is that it really, you have to kind of get to grips with the essence of the song and present it with a very limited amount of parts. If you have an extremely skilled vocal ensemble, then you can kind of do more complicated stuff. But for the most part, that's not going to be the case. You're looking at doing, a very simplified version of the song. I think these guys were kind of getting all the right things. This is a really good cover to look at if you're looking at breaking stuff down into like the simple components of the song. They've got some really good call and response. Because it's all female, you are missing kind of a bit of that low end, but they do have some impressive altos that can sing all the way down to like a low E flat. So it's definitely worth checking out if you want to see how you could reduce this down to just an a cappella group with no extra parts. However, what I'm going to be doing is I'm going to be doing with a piano accompaniment. So I'm taking away some of those issues because the piano, can play lower than the double bass. So I've got my score here with all the stuff that I picked out that I thought was important. Next, I want to choose the instrumentation. So I go into my instrument menu, and I am going to be going with soprano, alto, baritone, like so. And I'll want to get a piano part as well, so that goes in there. I'm just going to leave these other staves here for now. I'm not going to I'm not going to change this one into the soprano stuff, that one into the alto stuff, and so on, because I haven't decided if this is the correct key. I haven't decided, who's going to do what where. Just get all these in. Let's talk about key. To choose key, you have to decide who is going to be singing the melody where and work from there. There's bits in this song where Duffy's singing, she doesn't want to be the other woman. Yeah, you've got to understand that I need a man who can take my hand. Now, unless you've got an LGBT choir or you're doing it, you're pushing for laughs, you might want to consider not having the men sing that they need a man who can take their hand, because that might lose some of the message of the song, because they'll be like, oh, these guys, they want a man to hold their hand. That's not, necessarily because I think it's funny to listen about men wanting a guy to take their hand. I think that's a very, a nice sentiment, but it's the sort of thing you might want to consider, right? Do I have singers that will be okay with that? And will it also, will it distract from the song? If you're ever in doubt, just kind of go for the safe option. Just have the ladies do that bit. Next is, where are you going to have the block harmonies and how will they sit in the voice? Now, the answer is simple. It's going to be in the choruses, because the choruses are the most natural places to put in block harmonies. I will tend to then choose, right, who's going to be singing the melody here? Most likely, looking at where it sits, I'll want it to be in the alto part, and I'll want to harmonize above and below. So they'll sing the middle notes essentially, and then I'll have the sopranos. The sopranos can easily be a bit quieter because they're used to singing in that range. And the men will also be quite strong. I want to avoid altos ending up too low by having them harmonize underneath here. As I said, this song sits very nicely in an alto range already. And it goes up to B flat. That's a very manageable note for altos. You're at the break, but not quite above it yet. So I think that's manageable. This here, release, that's more of a thing you could put in the sopranos. I'm kind of inclined to just leave this in G. I don't see a reason why I wouldn't. So I'm going to leave it in G. And I'll stick this up in the alto stuff. So there, I'll just cut it out, stick it in the alto stuff. Boom. And this will be loud. I'll want to keep this yeah, yeah, yeah going. So maybe having two parts doing this and one part doing the yeah, 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 yeah. Maybe, I could literally just have sopranos doing this, but not necessarily on G. So you got me begging you for mercy. Because I know that all the choruses are the same, I can then look at the final chorus and make this decision about how I choose to allocate these. This is the final chorus. If I'm assuming this is going to be in the alto part, for now, I can change this, you know, nothing's set in stone. Then I've got my yeah, yeah, yes, show me some mercy. If I want to keep all of those, and I think I should, then I'll want to make sure I move them around so they're as effective as possible. I'm kind of taking the phrase from the song and repurposing it. I'm not putting it in the same place as in the original, but I'm getting kind of the same effect.
Yeah, yeah. Oh, I want you to release me. Yeah. You got me begging you for mercy. I want you to release me. I said you better.
That works. And then I do have this thing here where it's in octaves. It's fine. Whatever. For the accompaniment, I mean, we've already been given the accompaniment earlier, haven't we? It's the da 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 da. I tend to write in the harmonies on the piano part in case your piano player is quite skilled and they want to improvise a bit. Why not? Write them in. It doesn't hurt. And I'm taking something that was in the track already and changing it around to accommodate for harmony and just kind of trying to make it as playable as possible. I haven't quite decided what I'm doing here. I'll probably have like a loop. I might end up having some, interjections, etc. But I can decide on that later. What I wanted to do, and the reason why I arranged this first, is because this is about as loud as it will get. In fact, I will write in all parts as double F. And then anything can be scaled back from there. Okay, so now that we have this in mind, the way I've done the chorus here is going to be similar to the way I do it elsewhere. I could harmonize with the baritones and have the sopranos do the yeah-yeahs. I do end up with no third situation here. That's fine. It's less important to fill in every chord when you've got stuff like counter melodies happening and you're also using piano backing. I want the men to do the melody during the verse because verses can be quiet and that's not a problem. And I think in this case, we'll have them all, yeah, 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 I said you'd better release. We'll have them all in block harmonies here.
Why won't you release me? You got me begging you for mercy. Why won't you release me? I said release me. Yeah.
I mean, that's a fairly simple way to do the chorus. You've got the yes, you've got two-part harmony on the melody. Yeah, I mean, I'm happy with that. Let's talk verses. There was one bit where, the man who can take my hand, I'll want that to be on the female voice parts. I'll just stick it in the altos for now. That means the first verse, let's put it in the male voice parts. Why not? This is in a pretty okay baritone range. It's not too low. It only goes down to a D, and that's not where it starts to get muddy just yet. It's not high. But if they're singing MF, that's fine. A typical Motown thing to do is just have a whoo, and to have that on the first beat of the bar. Whoo. This is the first verse, and restraint is your best friend when it comes to arranging anything. It's just don't blow your load too quickly. It's okay to have something that's simple to start with, then you can get more elaborate later. You only have 3 voice parts and a piano to deal with here, so you want to make sure that you're not throwing everything at the wall just when you're starting out. And then this could be in block harmonies. Stop playing games. Just have the ladies harmonizing above. Just some difference. I don't even think I need to put anything in the right hand here.
I love you, but I gotta stay true. My morals got me on my knees. I'm begging, please stop playing games. I don't know what this
Should I here keep it in the male voice parts or not. I mean, to be honest, I think they're going to get less interesting stuff as the song goes on. Keep it in the baritone part and give the altos and sopranos more of a line to complement. So you have more stuff happening. I'll use the string line because you have do, 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 do. Let's use that as our basis. It would be interesting to just have them in harmonies here, because I tend to just loop sections outright if they're similar enough that I think there's no point in rearranging them. And when it comes to pre-chorus, that happens, 2 times. It's fine to just repeat that. So if I just have the men do it once, the baritones do it once, and then have this in block harmonies, then that will lead nicely into any chorus. And then I want to have a little bit of, because these guys are doing their run, the sopranos are doing their run, so I want to make sure that these guys get a bit of call and response. So harmonia spell. Yeah, I know what I'm going to do. Okay. Do, 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 do. I will pretty much do the first and second chorus more or less exactly the same. There's, in my opinion, no good reason to change them up. I mean, I have to keep in mind that this line is different on the second time around, but that's fine. That's just a detail. So I'm just going to copy this verbatim. Here, I think I'll probably want the piano to double what the sopranos and altos are doing somehow. I'll keep this. This is cool. And then I'll do... We haven't quite got to this da, 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 da thing yet, but I think I'll do that here. Let's grab that, stick it over here. No, that's cool. Okay. Do, 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 and then some sort of slash chord. We have a bit of call and response. We have these nice string lines. And then we have some choral harmony. And a bit of stuff happening in the piano. I think these sections are already sounding like ready. Actually, let's cut these out. But you do it well. And then this is sopranos only. These guys holding well. Ooh, I'm under your spell. So you get a bit more exciting call and response happening. So you have this bit is then in block harmony. You don't know what you do, but you do it well. Sopranos, I'm under your spell. And these guys are holding on to these notes, this exciting second. Seconds are very exciting to listen to. A little trickier to get in tune if you have low ability singers, but they are great. Creating interest. Always the key word is creating interest. This is creating interest.
But you got me good, just like you knew you would.
Knew you would. I don't know what you do, but you do it well. I'm under your spell. I'm under your spell. You got me begging you for
My
mercy.
advice when it comes to piano parts is don't overcomplicate things, because the piano is not the lead character in the choir. The piano is supporting the singers, supporting, whatever's happening on stage. They're there not to be the focus of attention, and that I think means you shouldn't give them extremely difficult things to be playing. I think if I just introduce some body percussion, that might be enough. Let's see. Just to introduce finger snaps on 2 and 4. That might actually be enough. I tend to just write it in using the technique finger snaps on 2 and 4. Very easy. Most people should be able to do that without having to concentrate too much. And it just adds a little bit extra stuff. Now, verse 2. The baritones have done the melody so far. I think it's about time that the altos get some melody. Sharing is caring, and when it comes to choral arranging, you got to make sure all the people involved in your choir get something fun to do. The worst sin you can do as an arranger is to create a boring part where people don't get to have any fun. So I'm going to say altos here, and also because, as I mentioned earlier, this line is, now you think that I will be something on the side, but you got to understand that I need a man who can take my hand. Then this is going to be leading into what I had before. I'm not going to rearrange this pre-chorus. I don't think it's worth it. So I'm gonna stick the sign here. I think I already spent time working out harmonies here. I already spent time making it interesting and cool. So I'm gonna keep it and use it twice because I'm proud of it and I want to show it off. So audience is just gonna have to sit there and listen to it again. So put the sign here. I'm assuming that I'll be repeating everything exactly as before up until this bar. So I'm now gonna put the 2 coda text here. 2 coda. There. what I need is this bar. This is the bar that goes into, where we'll go back to the sign. So I'll take this bar, like so. Here, this is where I'll write my DS. Del segno al coda. So I go back to the sign, and then they just sing everything the way they've done before. I typically just then split this system here. It's a split system. You can't see that because my lovely mug is in the way. And then this will be the coda. Now I'll want to remove everything up until there. Yeah, so this is what I need. I'm assuming that I'm going to want to just have a bit of call and response here. Simply enough. Now you think that I will be something on the side, will be something on the side. It's just very, very simple call and response. Because I'm imagining now, I'm just going to be repeating the guitar pattern. I've not used this guitar pattern much yet, so why not just keep using it? Now I just got 4 bars here, and then it goes back to the first chorus. So that should be a fairly straightforward thing. Now I think maybe not following exactly what the alto's doing, but you understand, need a man. Yeah, let's do that. And then just call and response. Call and response is the key. Passing chords are tricky dicky because the overall quality of this bar is sort of C dominant, but I can't put in my B flat and my E, which are very important notes in C dominant, because that will then clash with this passing chord I'm using in the piano, and it's going to sound a little too crunchy, if you will. Now I do end up with sort of a C sus quality here. That's fine. That's close enough. Once you start having crunchy harmony, especially with lower ability groups, they'll start worrying that they're singing wrong. So rather than have them think that they're singing wrong and then telling them they're not, and just telling them to ignore that the piano's playing an E and just stay on your F, just make it easy for them. It's fine.
Now you think that I will be something on the side, but you got to understand that I need a man who can take my hand. Yes, I do.
I don't know what this
And then we
is.
have the hip hop. I'm begging you for mercy. So who gets to do the spoken bit? Now, first of all, you think that I'll be the other girl. So in my head, this should probably belong to one of the female voice parts. Sorry, altos or sopranos. Who's got more hip hop skills typically in a choir? Is it going to be the altos or the sopranos? Because this one goes up to D flat, I'm going to stick this on the altos. I want this to be in unison, in octaves. So that'll be sopranos and baritones in octaves. In the original, you just have drums and Duffy singing and then rapping this, you look at me and think we're the same kind, because you don't know what I've got in my mind. As you can tell, I'm very skilled at hip hop myself. So I'm going to have all these guys go F. I'm going to have hand claps on 2 and 4. Now, I already had some finger snaps earlier. I'll just write stop snaps. Now, I'm going to stick hand claps in the bridge. As a general rule, completely a cappella sections that then have an instrument coming in later are dangerous because choirs have a tendency to sink in pitch unless they're high ability, and that's just the way it is. And maybe I'll introduce a bit of piano halfway through just to keep them in pitch. Okay, I know what I'm doing. Oh baby, I'm begging you. So it's something like, oh baby, I'm begging you for mercy, and that'll give me a chance to put a nice crunchy chord in the piano part. Oh baby, release me. Oh baby, yeah, like that. Release me, oh baby. Okay, so then it's this is a very natural place to have something in the piano to keep them in key. So I'm thinking of something typical of Motown. Actually, it could just be bass line, couldn't it? Begging you. It's a bit like you guys ever hear Little Shop of Horrors? You know, you better, telling you better tell your mama something's gonna get her. You know what? Why don't I can be a bit cheeky. Just put that in here. Why not? Just be literally stealing the bass line from Little Shop of Horrors. I'm begging you to do mercy. Don't you? You know what? I'm going to try that. See how that. This is why arranging is so fun. Because you have these weird ideas and you're like, oh, I can try that. I can try that. And then you're like, oh, that reminds me of this. And then suddenly you're putting stuff in that's, maybe it isn't obvious, but then when you think about it, it kind of is. This will be on the tonic then. Now here, I'm wondering. Now I've just copied exactly what Duffy does. This, when you have a repeated phrase like this and you're about to build to like a climax, it's an invitation to start low and gradually go higher. Because I've got 3 phrases. So this is one of my favorite tricks. This comes from my days in the big band, is to have something that goes on the 2 and the 4 like this. Do 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 do. So you have, if you put something on the 2 and the 4, that immediately starts to build tension. And that's what we want. We want tension building up to the climax of the final chorus. Do 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 do. It is the twist and shout effect, I am sorry to say, but I'm trying it out. This doesn't happen in the track because they cut that transition, but the altos could definitely just sing this. You got me begging, you got me begging you, like that.
Oh baby, you look at me and think we're the same line, because you don't know what I've got in my mind. I want a bit more than I'm asking for, but I just don't want to waste my time. You think that I'll be the other girl, just like there's nothing in this world. I want to have fun, go get me some, I just don't know where you're coming from. You got me begging, you got me begging you for mercy.
Repeat here. This is new. Release me, release me. I think I'm just going to remove these staves now. There's not anything on here that I need any longer. I've got all of this. I think anyway I've got all of this. Now I'm not writing in each. I mean, I could technically write like C over G here, but this is a passing chord, and the chords aren't there because I'm instructing the piano player exactly what each chord is all the time. I'm instructing whoever's accompanying what is the general harmony here. If you're the sort of person who doesn't perhaps sight read well, or you're just being asked to step in and you haven't had a lot of time to prepare, the chord symbols are here to give you something to play so that you don't get loads of notation thrown at you. And also, if you happen to be a guitarist rather than a pianist, and they've been like, well, our pianist has the flu, or our pianist has COVID-19 and can't come, then and you're like, well, I can play a bit of guitar. Okay, fine. Can you kind of just follow this chord these chord symbols and maybe put in a little bit here and there? And then if you've got the chord symbols on there, then they'll be like, well, yeah, I can, because I can read. I might have trouble reading this, but I definitely understand what G7 sort of means. It just gives you more options for using the same arrangement. So I think it's good practice to just write in some chord symbols to indicate the general harmony. I'm going to write optional ad-libs. If you've got some soul mamas, some soul daddies, and they can pull out some nice ad-libs, then this will be a nice moment for them to stand out, take a step forward and do some ad-libs. It's fine. All you have to do, system text, box system text, 2 to 3 singers, ad-lib, or you can even say a few. One or a few. Boom. And then the MD can then decide, right, well, we don't have any people who do ad-libs here, so we're going to ignore that, and we're just going to smile. Or the MD will be like, yeah, oh, well, this person and this person are good at doing ad-libs, so let's get them to do it. And it's the sort of thing that is great because it means I don't have to do anything, because I just give them, right, this is the instruction. I don't have to write any notation for you. Figure it out. Do something. Make it cool. Okay, so now I got to figure out how to end the song. Actually, let's finish with a repeat of this line. Typically, so if you ever play in like a jazz group or something, very typical way of finishing a jazz song will be just do the last line 3 times. This is I'm just kind of doing a very, very simple outro here. There's nothing particularly weird about this, but this outro will work. Raise me, yeah, I said you'd better. And then we'll have long chords on the piano with the singers just doing exactly what they've done, and then just have long notes. And I'm just going to end it with, yeah. And that's a great way to just finish. Boom.
I said you better release me, yeah. I said you better release me.
So let's go all the way back to the intro. I've left all this nice little space here precisely because I didn't know what I was going to do for the intro. I am quite fond of just having really short intros. It's I could literally start to dum 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 dum. I love you. That would be a great intro in my opinion. So now we're going to talk layout. Now I'm assuming, okay, my arrangement's done, and I go out of panorama mode and into here. And now immediately it's going to look messy. So here, the DSL coda, I would say always put a break next to here. It just looks a lot nicer. So I go into chord symbols here and I'm going to add diagrams. I can't attest to the accuracy of these guitar diagrams, but I think there's no reason not to put them there. They don't take up a lot of space. They might be useful. And if the guitarist disagrees with the voicing that's listed, they can make up their own. I'm going to reduce the staff size a little bit, not much. It's very close to the right size, but I'm going to reduce it down to 6.5 because that just gives a little bit of breathing room for the first page in particular. This all looks good to me. Now what I do is I'm going to select all, and then I'm going to go into layout and optimize the staff spacing. That fixes a lot of layout problems off the bat. Next, I'm going to go into appearance. Is it appearance? Yeah, reset note spacing. Like this all looks great. This all looks like a professional piano score, or a professional choral score. Boom. All fine. All the instructions are clear. Everything's spaced out. Okay, guys. Well, you know what? I think my arrangement's pretty much finished. Thanks for joining me for this shortened version of my first live stream. You can check out the recording I did with my friend Helga, and you can get a hold of the sheet music by checking the description. As usual, make sure you comment if you have any questions, share this video with your friends, and subscribe if you haven't already. And I'll see you in the next episode of Quiet with Knut.